Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be reviewing episodes 11 through 14. But before I get into it, if you're enjoying these episodes, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. So let's move to the first episode. This one starts with Ye Wenjie's time at the work camp in Mongolia, and while it's a shorter episode, I still liked it. For someone who didn't read the book, it might be a little confusing as to why she's there cutting down trees and doing extreme manual labor. But it's because she is basically labeled an enemy for not implicating her father in his crimes during the Cultural Revolution, where he was murdered. His crime was advocating for the theory of relativity. Besides that information being left out from previous episodes, I think this episode is fairly similar to the books. Ye Wenjie is a little less despondent and a little bit more talkative once Bai Mulin shows up at the camp, and he eventually betrays her once his report is found. In the books, Ye Wenjie is actually tortured with cold water and left to freeze, and in the show we get the gist of this without actually seeing it. Aside from the changes, I think this episode was good. It's a nice change of pace from the adventures of Wang Miao and Da Shi, and I think the cultural aspect of the show is really interesting. Many trees are cut down during this episode, and it's a nice reminder to what is happening in the current timeline between Pan Han and Shen Yufei. Ecological issues are going to be a plot point. With episode 12, we move back to the current timeline. Now, to me, this felt a little bit like a filler episode. We have Da Shi and Wang Miao going back to the astrological observatory to visit Professor Shah, who also turns out to be a huge gamer. He is ready to help them beat the three-body game. Most of this episode isn't anything that happens in the books, so they are inventing things for the characters to do and kind of pad out the episodes. And despite this, I still found it entertaining. Da Shi babysitting Dodo was really cute, but the important part of this episode is that within the three-body game, we learn that advances are being made, but the new calendar is wrong and there are too many irregularities to this world's sun, and the gang is still trying to figure it all out. One moment the sun vanishes, creating an ice age, then one reappears, really close, burning the earth. But for anyone paying attention, the name of the game is Three-Body. So with all of these scientists, I'm a little bit confused as to why they haven't figured it out yet. Just a minor criticism, but I still really like the episode. The humor and acting is actually really great. As we move to episode 13, the first half deals with the young reporter stirring up tensions by scaring people about ecological issues, and we are seeing the backbone of Pan Han's goal within the frontiers of science, which I would like to point out is not the goal of all members, which is made obvious by the tensions between Pan Han and Shen Yufei. There is also a line of dialogue between Wang Miao and Ye Wenjie that I really enjoyed in this episode. Wang Miao says, "We're now living in peaceful times and the internet is so highly developed, but I still feel humbled." And I think this attention to scientific achievement and the strides taken by humanity in such a short time feels a little bit like foreshadowing of what to come, especially paired with the fact that the two characters are touring Wang Miao's lab, and his research is something of great interest to the shooters and the farmers. As we move forward, my favorite part of this episode comes when we go back in time to Ye Wenjie's story about her arrival at Red Coast Base. She's sick after being tortured and arrives to see this giant parabolic antenna up close. Now, I know that I've said this before, but the set design in this show is fantastic. The costumes and props and the machines and the visuals are all really top notch. This was my favorite episode of the 4 because it's also one of my favorite moments from the books, and I'll get to that later. So Ye Wenjie is given a choice: leave and face imprisonment, or stay and risk never leaving. She chooses to stay and make a life here. The ending of this episode was a really strong finish. It's also one of my favorite moments in the books because it really grabbed a hold of me and made me curious about the real objective of Red Coast Base. This antenna powers up and the sky starts to glow and snow melts, and Ye Wenjie feels her face itch, and a flock of birds drop dead out of the sky. I really enjoyed seeing this on screen. Now, episode 14 deals with the passage of time during Ye Wenjie's life at Red Coast Base. She is being watched at all times because she isn't yet trusted, but she's really capable and doing a good job here, better than most who are stationed at the base. It is revealed that some of the workers are purposely sabotaging the research so they can get discharged, and this makes Ye Wenjie a rising star for 2 reasons. The research and development at Red Coast is coming to a close, and in the eyes of some, it's a defunct project, and some workers just don't want to be there. There's no chance at advancing their careers. Secondly, the country is starting to wake up from this time of anti-intellectualism. Science was deemed taboo for such a long time that there aren't enough people with the knowledge and skill and background that Ye Wenjie possesses. Therefore, she's doing a great job. She gets promoted and she becomes a cadre, and now she has more access to the base and can make more improvements and even request books. The most interesting part of this episode for me is the conversation between Commissar Lei and Ye Wenjie, where he lies to her and tells her that the real mission of Red Coast Base is that it's like a microwave oven using the antenna to destroy enemy satellites. But Lei wants Ye Wenjie around because the base needs to make achievements, and they are the only things that are keeping the base open, plus it benefits his career. As the episode ends, we learn that Yang Dong, Ye Wenjie's daughter, is most likely the child of her and Yang Wening, who is one of the scientists who brought her into Red Coast Base. Now, this makes Ye Wenjie a target for Da Shi's investigation, and they believe that she's the key to helping them solve this 3-body game. Overall, I liked these episodes, especially the focus on Red Coast Base. I'm really excited to see this part of the story because Ye Wenjie's background and her motivations are a very, very large part of this story. Overall, they're seamlessly jumping from different plot points in different times, and they're doing it pretty cohesively. I'm really glad that we're still getting Wang Miao and Da Shi as the story jumps back and forth, because we're dealing with some deep topics and some kind of heavy material, and I think there is a lightness to Da Shi and Wang Miao's relationship that kind of balances it all. Overall, this might be my favorite grouping of episodes so far. I'm excited to be reaching the midpoint of the season, and I will be covering this series all the way to its very conclusion. So thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I will see you back next time with more 3-Body Problem.